Find opportunities for embedding machine learning into your processes with Lazarina Stoy, Tech SEO Analyst at Scale. Brought to you by Majestic, I'm David Bain and this is SEO in 2022. Lazarina, what is your number one SEO tip for 2022?
All right. So if we have to break it down, there are three main components of the statement. There's the what, which is to increase your efficiency exponentially. The why, which is to focus on building systems that skyrocket performance. And the how, which is to find opportunities for embedding machine learning into processes. Let's kind of talk about the what first. Increasing your efficiency is something that every SEO needs to do. And there are a couple of reasons for this. First of all, the industry is becoming a lot more competitive. We can also see that search engines are continuously improving in terms of their offering, their algorithms. And there's also a lot of hunger for good SEOs. So businesses and individuals are becoming a lot more in tune with developing brands online and their digital presence. So they need allies to help them do this efficiently. And in that sense, it really does make sense to think about how to increase your efficiency as an SEO. The why you would do this, why this is important, is potentially it can save you a lot of time. And as we know, time is a very valuable commodity. If you have the time to work as an SEO, you would need to build systems internally that can free up the time for you to actually focus on strategy and building scalable systems for your clients. And the most exciting part, how you can do this, is to just seek opportunities for embedding machine learning into the processes that you are completing. And there are a couple of different steps that you can take to do this. First of all, you would need to become familiar with the different types of models, scripts, tools that are available out there. And most of them don't even require any coding experience. You just have to get started and get your hands dirty. Then when you're encountering a new task or a project, you just have to think about how you can break this down into things that are more manageable. And finally, you just have to assess the characteristics of the task and identify which machine learning models, libraries, scripts can become your allies in completing this task. And that way you will have more time to focus on things that are a little bit more scalable.
Absolutely superb. What, why, and how increase efficiency, save a lot of time, seek opportunities. How about if we zero in on the what and the how? So what to begin with to increase efficiency, but to increase efficiency in what? What specific SEO tasks at the moment do you think aren't particularly efficient and can be aided with machine learning?
That's a great question. I think that every task that really requires you to pull exports from different systems and tools, because we SEOs love our tools. And most of the time we get this large chunks of data and we have to audit this data. And this is something that obviously data science, data analysis, this is the number one area where you can get a machine learning model or script to become your ally into identifying opportunities. And I would say this is the thing that actually you can measure with the time that you save after implementing a particular script model. And I can give a few examples just from the top of my head, but even things like internal linking audits or technical audits, you can create scripts that actually identify the top opportunities. Based on, machine learning libraries, or even clustering content based on the similarity of this content. Obviously, it will be a lot easier for an NLP library or model to go through the content of your website and cluster it, as opposed to you reading the articles and trying to make sense of them. And previously, just a few weeks ago, there was also another really good example from Lee that clustered product pages based on their category. So again, this is something for e-commerce that is a great opportunity to actually scale very quickly your auditing processes.
Auditing, okay. And is this something that existing auditing tools that SEOs might be using can offer, or you can actually work in conjunction with them, or are we at a stage where SEOs need to be exploring this themselves? And is it something that needs to be really set up manually without a pre-existing platform that they could happen to be using?
I think it's a mixture of both, and it really does depend on the access to the tools that you have. For instance, if you are working in-house, you might have access to very advanced tooling and, very expensive as well, which can allow you to get a little bit more insights than what you would normally have when you're just doing simple analysis yourself without any fancy tooling. So I think it really does depend on the level that you want to incorporate those technologies into your process, and also it depends on the tooling that you already have. I can definitely say there are some great tools out there that provide very insightful comments, but if you want to do a very in-depth analysis, and especially on larger websites as well, it's always good for you to be able to know how this insights that the tools provide you have been created, so that you can replicate it in your processes as well. So you are not hindered by things like sampling, or maybe you don't have access to the full set of data and things like that. So I think it's definitely a mixture of both.
Yeah, that's great, because I think a lot of SEOs simply accept data as fact, and then maybe when they compare the data available from a couple of different tools, they see that actually the results they get are completely different. So if they take the time to actually really understand how the results are being produced, and come up with a model that is more likely to be appropriate for the business and the environment that they work in, then that would be better for the end result of the business, but also for their own learning, I guess, as well. So it'd be great to actually get your recommendations for a few very specific tools and processes. So feel free to recommend different resources, different names of different tools, different scripts, or whatever technologies, machine learning technologies you want to recommend. So maybe, do you want to pick one or two processes and one or two tools, or machine learning tools that you would actually advise to assist with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would definitely say it's quite easy to find all of the Pythonistas of the SEO community on Twitter, and I won't be able to name them all. So I would just say follow them on Twitter, and you'll get a lot of amazing resources. But in terms of the processes that you can very quickly look into how to potentially automate, those would be things like keyword clustering, extraction of the main keywords for a particular topic, labeling search intent based on the content of the article or based on the title, actually looking into how to cluster different content using topic modeling algorithms, things like LDA. And anything that, again, as I say, if you get like a massive website to audit and you have a huge export from a tool like Screaming Frog, for instance, and you're wondering where to get started from, it's a really good starting point to start exploring this data in Python, and then actually incorporating different models based on what the analysis shows you. And a couple of very quick libraries to get started doing this is obviously Pandas and NumPy. And then in terms of visualization, you can incorporate things like Matplotlib. And for natural language processing, things like NLTK, fuzzy matching techniques, and clustering as with there are different clustering algorithms, but K, nearest neighbor clustering, KNN, is the one that works well in terms of clustering different text. So I can go into a lot more details theoretically, but the main gist of it is when you have a particular task that you're trying to do, and the main thing is to break down what data you are trying to analyze. Is it numerical or is it text? And then to actually label the task that you're trying to do. For instance, if we say we are analyzing text data, are we trying to generate new text, or to cluster it, or to get an analysis off of it, maybe label it, classify it? So once you have these two things, you can then start searching for algorithms or libraries or scripts that can help you achieve this task, essentially.
You mentioned topic clustering. Does that mean that you could use machine learning to assist you with determining what you should be writing about next, effectively, where the gap exists in terms of the content opportunity out there compared with your competitors?
Yeah, so with regards to topic clustering, it's more the second step is what you are saying. So you are kind of thinking 2 steps ahead. But the first step is actually analyzing the website and the content that you have using machine learning libraries that can actually provide embeddings for all of the words in the text. And the way that they work is they consider the inter-exchangeability of words and topics. So for instance, if you have a lot of keywords in your content, you would imagine that this is kind of like a topic that you are trying to target as well. And this is also a similar assumption that most of the tools like SEMrush and Ahrefs also take when they are providing you with the list of parent keywords and, the seed keywords and broad match keywords and things like that. So the first step is actually analyzing the content that you have, seeing the very definitive clusters of content and seeing where the similarities between these clusters lie, which can actually give you a lot of opportunities to find out which clusters you can link together and which are the main keywords for each cluster, so that you can actually guide your users better to discover new content, essentially. And then, of course, after that, what you said is just to seek out where your topic authority is based on the content that you have. So, for instance, which topic is the most represented on your website? Which does this align with your business proposition? And then, if it doesn't, then you know where to expand and invest more into content development.
I like to jump ahead and get excited by possibilities sometimes, but it's great to be factual and really think about how everything works. And you've shared a lot of value there, and I think demonstrated that machine learning can be used in many different areas of SEO. So should SEOs be concerned that quality may deteriorate when so many different tasks are automated?
That's a really, really good question. And it's definitely something that I considered as well when trying to implement any sort of machine learning algorithm. And what I would say is I definitely think that people should consider these scripts, tools, libraries more like an ally as opposed to a replacement to a particular process. So imagine if this is like someone that is their first day in SEO, because these algorithms are not typically designed for the work that we do. So you would imagine that there would be a quality checking step after the implementation of it, each script system, tool, whatever it may be, because again, it's normal. The data is always different. Normally what you will be doing is implementing pre-trained models. So it will take an additional time to fine-tune it based on the data that you have, if you are doing that. And if you're just looking for a simple output, for instance, like automating meta description and generating them in bulk using a machine learning tool, then you would need to quality check the output afterwards. And the same goes for things like automated image alt text generation and captions. You would just need to sense check it. So I would say nobody should be worried about the quality if everyone is doing it right. But again, if you're just looking at the site for the first time, definitely check if something like this has been implemented and just sense check everything, I would say.
So can you think of anything that shouldn't be automated?
I think a lot of people will hate me for what I'm saying right now, but I really don't think that we should be automating content generation. I just don't think I don't think we should be doing this at this point. I have a.
Why do you think the quality isn't there yet?
Well, for instance, the creators of GPT-3 and other models like GPT-J, they've trained it on historical data. And the thing is, it's not updated in real time yet, of course. This will probably change in the future. But the other thing is that it has a lot of biases and a lot of, it makes a lot of assumptions. Another thing is that when you are generating text, there is no authoritativeness. There is no trust that you can have in this text because it's essentially not fact-checked. It's not providing references. It just doesn't have any authoritativeness. So if we as SEOs know what search engines and what users want, which is authoritativeness, trust, and expertise, then we cannot safely say that automated models can provide this yet. And until they do, I'm not particularly sure that this can be used as the main point of a content strategy. Again, there are things that can be automated, things that, for instance, Google and other search engines have said that are not important or not as important, but things like the content and the user experience, these are things that you really need a human touch for, in my opinion.
And how far away are we from a significant percentage of the content on a web page, on a website, being generated automatically?
Oh, I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of SEOs currently running experiments with their sites, and they never put the name of the site there. So you never know. It might already be the case. I really don't know. But it's an interesting future to think about. And what's more interesting to me is to read potentially Google's patents about how they're going to handle changes like this, because surely they will at some point. And currently in the guidelines, as far as I'm aware, unless this has changed, the automatically generated content is not something that is aligned with best practice. So it really does require a bit of editing. It requires fact-checking, sense-checking even. So hopefully we are far away from this, but we never know.
Yeah, it's a conversation that I'd love to go into greater depth about, but we haven't got enough time at the moment. Maybe we can get you on a future Majestic webinar, perhaps, to discuss machine learning and SEO. That would be wonderful as well. But I just want to ask you one more question. That is, if an SEO is struggling for time just now, but what you have said has really piqued their interest, and they think, I need to find out more about machine learning. I need to understand machine learning and the impact that it can have and will have on SEO, but they're very busy. What's one thing that SEOs are doing at the moment that they should probably stop doing in order to spend more time doing what you suggest?
I can perhaps answer this by using an example. If you imagine an on-page optimization project, you will have many different mini projects in it, like optimizing the meta descriptions, optimizing the titles, H1s, writing image captions, and things like that. So if you, as any SEO has clients or companies that they work for that require this type of project, just break it down into chunks and try to test out all of the different scripts and models that already exist for things like generating titles, meta descriptions, generating H1 headings and alt text, and then just see how much easier it is to work with this output and just edit it and sense check it, as opposed to trying to generate it yourself. And then the time that you save from doing this, use it to create more better strategies for scaling sites.
Great advice. You can find Lazarina Stoy over at lazarinastoy.com. Lazarina, thanks so much for being part of SEO in 2022.
Thank you for having me.
Check out the rest of the content from SEO in 2022 over at SEOin2022.com.